There we go.
Okay, ready to start. Okay, there it goes. So first off, thank you to Larith, Aiden, and the Malsoft Academy for having me. I do appreciate it very much. Um, it is worth saying that when I was approached with this topic, whilst yes, I work in tech, I had to do some homework. And I was quite interested to see the things that I came up with, which I'm excited to share with you today. So obviously today I'll be talking about in-demand tech skills, and here's just some of the things. So why tech skills matter, top in-demand tech skills. In between that, I've got some interesting facts for you, and then how best to prepare yourself in this job market. And then, of course, I will allow for questions. So why do tech skills matter? So I'm sure you're all familiar that the digital economy in South Africa is growing at a rapid rate. And interestingly enough, so with this, I actually Googled, where does the statement come from? And the first thing that actually popped up is that there are 120 million registered cell phones in South Africa, which is quite interesting given that there's only a population of about 60 million, right? And then, of course, of that, there are only 20 million smartphones in South Africa. So a quarter of the population is only a quarter is on smartphones. But with that, we're on the rise for a digital economy. And I think now more than ever, there's a high demand for skilled professionals in the tech space. And of course, remote work is, the new black, if I could say. Everybody wants a remote or a hybrid job, and hence this is becoming more accessible, more so in the tech space, as opposed to any other industry. And then top in demand tech skills in South Africa. Now, before I move on, I do want to share a disclaimer with you all that the skills that may be in demand will differ from company to company. And here are just some of the things that I have from Box Fusion, which, as you know, is a South African company. So in the software development space, so of course we have our software engineers in our data team who make use of Python, but the greater organization of our developers, they make use of C Sharp, JavaScript, and React. And then on the data engineering side, they use SQL, Python, machine learning, Power BI, and bot frameworks. And I think it's quite interesting to share with you all that businesses are it's part of their new strategy to make use of AI in their day-to-day life. One of the sessions we had here at Box Fusion quite recently, the managing director came in and he told us, regardless of the role you have, you should try to make use of AI, especially for those repetitive tasks. Or, maybe for some people, it takes too much brain power to write an email because, English is not your first language. Get the AI to do that. So machine learning, Python, Power BI, like I mentioned, and bot frameworks. Cloud computing, I cannot stress this enough. Cloud is king, and you'll see that in one of my interesting facts that I'll share with you. So AWS, Azure, and Google. So obviously, in case of Box Fusion, we use predominantly Azure, but we are moving into the AWS space with some of our recently promoted junior software engineers getting certified with AWS. And then on the DevOps side, so we do have a growing DevOps team, CI/CD principles, Kubernetes, and Docker. And then we also have a UX UI team. So on that space, they make use of Figma, Adobe XD, and of course, design thinking. This is actually just selling the design team short because there is a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. And then, of course, as of this morning, I actually found out our business analysis team makes up 30 talented business analysts. And with that, they use predominantly Lucid Chart. And of course, we all across the organization employ the Agile methodology. And then here's just some interesting facts. So, in the space of AI and machine learning, which seems to be the dominant theme and the predominant topic, um, so with AI and machine learning, it is expected that by 2025, it will be able to automate 50% of repetitive tasks. And quite honestly, I am looking forward to that, especially in the space of recruitment, where I am, and I get hundreds, if not thousands, of emails about a position. And I just simply wish that it could be automated. But here's little old Dinielia responding to everything as of right now. And then data is the new oil. 180 zettabytes of data will be generated by 2025, creating a new demand for data analysts and data engineers. So 180 zettabytes, I actually had to Google this, and it's a lot. It's about, I think, if I'm correct, there's 16 zeros after the 180. So you can imagine the amount of data there. And then cybersecurity is booming. So, of course, in this time that we are with AI and machine learning, and where data is so important, naturally there will be threats to that information. Hence, there has been an increase in cybersecurity threats, which means there's approximately 3.5 million cybersecurity jobs. Now, unfortunately, we do not have any, open positions in cybersecurity here at Box Fusion, but this is one of the more popular jobs in the tech space. The data just shows that. Low code and no code revolution. So 70% of new business apps will be built using low code. Um, you probably heard me say it, or if you follow Box Fusion, you already know this. But we have our own low code framework called Shesha, and it's currently open source, so you can visit it at shesha.io. And anything that comes out of Box Fusion, any of our solutions, be it SmartGov, Botsa, whatever it may be, it is built using Shesha. So if you're successful enough and you get to join the Box Fusion team as a developer, you will quickly have to learn Shesha because that will be your bread and butter. So businesses like ourselves have already adopted that. And then green tech and sustainability. So, renewable energy, carbon tracking, and eco friendly innovations are emerging as top tech careers. And some of you might ask, well, Dinielia, how does the earth and being sustainable or green tech actually relate to technology? And interestingly enough, I can actually give you an example. So, here we're currently working on a project called AgriTech, where they've partnered up with some of the South African farmers to make farming easier for them so that they can use technology. And one of those solutions, or rather, the solution consists of AI and drone technology, whereby a farmer can just use his drone, have a look at the crops, see what phase the crop is in, if it needs any fertilizer to be watered, things like that. And that's where the AI comes in. So agri-tech, whilst it's not on the shelf yet, it is something that we're working on at Box Fusion. So that is just one of the very, very interesting things. And recently on LinkedIn and other platforms, I've actually seen an uptake of people who study what can I call it? Environmental degrees or the environmental sciences. They actually pivot their careers into tech, or it's a combination of skills that are actually required. And then cloud is king. So 94% of businesses are using cloud computing. So I mentioned this before, AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud skills are in demand. I cannot stress this enough. It is so important that you acquire these skills, even if it means you just reading up on it, because it's no secret that the job market is generally tough in South Africa. But if you want to stay ahead, here's what is booming currently. And then how to get started. So I often see the mistake of graduates or entry level students or candidates where they just don't know the tech stack of a company. And to no fault of yours, because when you apply for a job, you know what you know. What you don't know, you just don't, right? But I would strongly suggest you do your homework. And I think in one of my previous sessions, I mentioned look at the job description, see how closely you can match it, and of course, then you update your CV accordingly and share it. Again, don't lie. If you don't know, that's completely okay. But when applying for a job, keep the tech stack in mind. And more often than not, it's not a rigid structure to say, okay, we're looking for C sharp and JavaScript, and you don't have C sharp and JavaScript. It's a no no. It doesn't work like that. If, for example, you know, Python and the principles are the same and you're able to apply them to C sharp. Just an example, I'm not a techie on that level, but um, if you know Python and you're able to apply the same principles and problem solving skills in C sharp, then that makes you, um, a great fit because you're able to apply those skills. And I think it's not spoken about enough, but on the Box Fusion side of things, so on the front end, we make use of C Sharp, JavaScript, and TypeScript. On the back end, it's ASP.NET Core and Web APIs. And then for database management, it's Microsoft SQL Server. For cloud and DevOps, it's Microsoft Azure and Azure DevOps, which interestingly enough, it's what our grad program, Azure DevOps is what our grad program is structured and written on. You would think the HR person doesn't have access to it, but I got access to it a couple of weeks back, and here I was typing away. So that was very, very fun to me. You learn new things as you go along. And then on the data and AI side of things, we make use of Python, Node.js, and Jupyter Notebooks. Um, it is worth mentioning, like I said, there's a lot of data jobs and it's becoming a trend. People are looking for engineers, data scientists, and so on. Um, but uh, don't make the mistake of being a data analyst or a data capturer. They sound very, very similar, but data engineers and data scientists usually require a bit more technical knowledge, a bit more technical skills. I mean, some of our guys on the, well, actually, all of our guys on the data team, I think at least two of them by title are software engineers, because at the end of the day, they're actually writing lines of code. So don't make that mistake of boxing yourself in to say these are only the data skills I know, because you'll really be doing yourself an injustice if you do that. And then, of course, and anytime you see me, even if it's in person, I will be stressing these things until thy kingdom come. So the first one is building a portfolio. There's no way of a company knowing your skills just because you said, hey, I have these skills, right? Which when you're a senior, sure, because now you've got, the years of experience to show that. But when you're an entry level engineer or data engineer, whatever it may be, oftentimes, and it's not necessarily me, but when I share CVs with the hiring managers and the devs, and I say, hey, here's these guys, what do you think? They go and look for your GitHub. Even if you did not link it to your CV, they'll go to GitHub and type in your name and look for your portfolio. So they want to see what have you worked on. Have you been contributing to open source projects? Are you active in the developer community? And even it can be projects you worked on in your personal time. I know a lot of times computer science students have their final year projects which they work on. Add those, let people witness your work. And even some go as far as making personal websites. I've seen many on Netify, and they are very, very creative, and some of them are very interactive. And me, as the recruiter, I have fun going through this beautiful website. So make it interesting, demonstrate your skills, because I think I mentioned this before. I've seen people apply for the job, and all they got there is BSc computer science. You're not telling me what technical skills you have. You're not telling me what projects you worked on. How do I know anything about you besides the fact that you have a degree, right? And then, of course, get certified. Um, and a lot of the times people tell me, well, Dinielia, these things are very expensive. And whilst, yes, that is true, there's no doubt about it. Um, if you're getting it for the sake of getting a job, you're not focusing on the right thing. You should be getting it because it's an investment in yourself, right? This is something that you will carry with you forever. I know some of them do expire and you have to rewrite, but organizations, especially some organizations, use the Amazon services. Box Fusion, we're a Microsoft organization. When we hire, we look at the people who actually have those certifications because it actually contributes to our partner status. So we want those certified individuals, and you will find many organizations alike that actually look for that. And aside from that, the skills you'll gain is something that you'll keep with you forever. And then, of course, I think I just mentioned this, but become familiar with data tools and analysis. I mean, somebody like me uses Excel, right? If you think about it, it's a data tool to some extent, but I'm in HR. What the data tools you need to know are far more technical than the ones I know. So obviously, I mentioned Python, SQL, Jupyter notebooks, but again, it differs from company to company. So feel free to do your homework. And again, which talks into my next point, networking. I cannot stress the power of social media and the power of asking for help. Um, sure, you will find that you connect with some individuals and your invitation or your connection request is sitting there for like 3 months. There are genuinely those individuals who are not as active. But the ones who are, ask them for help. Reach out to them. You have a question. For example, you're an aspiring data engineer. Of course, Dinielia, the HR person, only has this amount of information to give you in terms of recruitment and process and CV. But if you want to know what your career is going to look like in the long term, or if you want to know what it's going to look like in 10 years, reach out to a data engineer. Find out the information you want, and not just online. Attend events, go to places where there are like-minded people. I cannot stress this enough. um, the amount of hackathons I've been to last year, and the amount of dedicated individuals that attend these, they come from far and wide, because more often than not they're happening in Joburg or Cape Town or Durban. So everybody that's in between has to make their way there, and they are there. They are sitting in long commutes to be there. So yeah, sure, we often take for granted all the luxuries we have, but make the sacrifice, connect with those individuals. I think one of the events I went to recently or sometime last year, the amount of recruiters in the room, the amount of specialists, technical specialists, engineers, some of them were actually people from the government departments that are hiring for their teams. Um, and don't be afraid to go up to somebody and strike a conversation. I actually love it when people come to me in person and they're like, I knew you were going to be here. I brought my CV. Please look at it. Make use of those opportunities. Everybody, a lot of us who are in industry already want to share the knowledge. We want to share the information. And sure, it might be scary because you don't know if you'll get a response, but if you don't try, you'll never know, right? So networking is really, really important. And I think that brings me to the end of my presentation. 20 minutes. I think I did that in good time. But is there any questions?
Yeah, so I actually have a few questions that I'd want
Sure.
to find out from you. So
Mhm.
most graduate programs are requiring a degree for someone to enter into them. So
Mhm.
when that requirement is there, does that mean for someone who has a bootcamp certificate or something else, are they automatically disqualified? Is that what it means?
So, to be honest, sometimes, um, how do I say this tactfully? Sometimes recruiters are not very attentive to their job post or vacancy post. And the bootcamp individuals who have these certifications from the bootcamp, they have to play in the area of or related qualification. Because at the end of the day, it is a qualification, and I believe Malsoft is accredited as that. As long as the qualification is accredited, it really shouldn't stop them. There are people who genuinely, or organizations that genuinely have quotas. They need a set number of degrees, NQF 7, NQF 8. But there are also those that welcome individuals from the boot camps. Not so long ago, somebody said they have an NQF 5 from a boot camp. And I said, you're more than welcome to apply. That doesn't stop you. Um, for me, I'll tell you that my quotas are it has to be an IT qualification. Higher certificate, diploma, degree, even if it's postgrad, that's fine, but I need an IT qualification, and one from a boot camp is completely fine.
Okay. Another question. Let's say someone is applying to several jobs and they keep getting that awful rejection letter that we've all got at some point in our careers. How can someone stay motivated?
So I'll tell you something from my personal experience. Um, so I was in my final year in 2022, and I started applying for jobs as early as April 2022. I applied for more than 100 jobs. Some I never heard back from. Some, while I was well into my role at Box Fusion, I still got rejection emails. Um, of course, you get the odd, please do the assessment, and then you never hear back. And then eventually, come, I think it was March 2023, almost a full year later,
Hmm.
I got the opportunity to interview with City of Johannesburg for an intern role. I didn't get it. In fact, I didn't even hear back from them. And then thereafter, I I interviewed with Box Fusion and I got the role. Um, so the harsh reality of the situation, you're gonna apply for close to or over 100 jobs, and that's something that we have to make peace with as individuals living in South Africa. It is rough,
Yeah.
but also I think bear in mind that you're not alone. You're not the only one.
Hmm.
There's hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals going through the same thing as you are. And also, I think oftentimes we share our CV and immediately after that we get rejection emails, and that's fine. You wouldn't really learn from those experiences. But the ones where you get called for an interview or you've done an assessment and they after you got rejected, reach out to the recruiter. Ask them, I know you didn't provide specific feedback, but if you have the time, I would appreciate it so I can improve. More often than not, you'll actually find that they're willing to give feedback. I know I always try to. Um, so, hey, Dinielia, I know I interviewed for a role at Box Fusion. I didn't get the role, but I want to know what can I do to improve. Because whilst you may not get it with me, maybe what advice I have to offer you will help you for the next one.
Mm,
And again, talk to your friends, talk to your peers. You're not alone. There's many individuals like you. There's many support groups for this kind of thing. I see it on LinkedIn every other day. This youth society or this job hunting group. You're not alone and you should find comfort in that. And your moment will come. Some, it may take longer than others, but it will happen.
yeah. Wow. Great stuff. Great stuff. Last question from my side. Um, say someone is struggling to get that job or get that breakthrough offer letter locally. Do you advise people to also go out there and start looking for opportunities in other countries? And if so, how can someone start?
To be honest, I've never had the opportunity of talking to an individual who's actually applied outside of South Africa. Um, but that shouldn't stop you, especially those that are in the technical space. If you have the skills, those are highly employable skills that people want, and people even beyond South Africa, because you must remember that. At the end of the day, unfortunately, we are a third world country, and there are more developed countries that actually need those skills, potentially growing at a far more rapid rate, and they require more skilled individuals. So that shouldn't stop you from applying. And even in certain countries, you will find, and I think I saw it on LinkedIn just this morning, Switzerland is looking for individuals, and they'll even pay individuals to come and reside in Switzerland. So look out for those opportunities. And of course, sometimes certain companies they open it the vacancy is global, but they're like, you need to relocate even though it's a remote job.
Yeah.
So be wary of such things. And also, now again, with us being in the world of remote work, sometimes you don't even have to go through the visa process if I'm working for a UK company and I'm just doing my job here from South Africa.
Yeah.
So those are the things to bear in mind.
Interesting. So we've got a question from Mr. Molaudzi. And his question is, what if the recruiter does not want to tell you where you made mistakes?
So again, a lot of the advice I give you, I always say is subjective to me and a few people like me. Um, because there are recruiters out there that are receiving large volumes. I mean, I tell you, I get anywhere between 1,000 and 3,000 applications, but the truth is, there are people who get more.
Hmm.
And sometimes you may find that recruiters are not active on LinkedIn, which sometimes is surprising to me because why? And also, I've actually noticed that, um, and it's difficult for me to say in a proper way, but recruiters get bombarded. I think this morning I spent 2 hours just responding to LinkedIn messages
Wow.
of people asking about roles or potential opportunities. And especially yesterday, given that I posted the graduate software engineer vacancy, it was even more than it usually is. So, yes, it does get overwhelming. Sometimes it even gets missed. And then there are generally those people who are not responsive. But that doesn't stop you from going to the next recruiter who you see is active. Hey, this is my name. This is what I'm into. Can you take a look at my CV? I'm really struggling, and I'd appreciate a professional opinion on what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for that. And that's all in terms of questions. We don't have any more questions. So, yeah, we managed to do it slightly just above 30 minutes, but well done.
Sounds fantastic. Love being effective.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Dinielia. And if you guys want to connect with her, please do search her up on LinkedIn. She promises to respond. Although, like she said, there's a big flurry of inbox messages in her DMs right now. So please do bear with her if she takes a little bit of time. Thank you so much, Dinielia, once again for coming through and sharing more knowledge. Always helpful and always valuable. Thank you so much from the Melsoft Academy team.
Thank you so much, Lara. Appreciate it. I hope to see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely